Welcome back. It is 11:32 a.m. This is the mid-morning show, and we're going to be looking at a very important issue right now. It's tackling South Africa's obesity crisis, and we're going to get deep insights from Dr. Bianca van der Westhuizen. She is the Honorary Secretary Treasurer at the Nutrition Society of South Africa. And just to add to that, she's completed a PhD in nutrition at the Center of Excellence for Nutrition, Northwest University. So, absolutely expert in her area. We are in the
Mhm.
right hands regarding this very serious matter. Dr. Bianca van der Westhuizen, a very good morning to you. Welcome. I'm so pleased to have you here.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me, and good morning to you and all the listeners tuning in.
Okay, so recent statistics indicate that 68% of South African women and 38% of men are overweight or obese. What do you believe are the primary factors contributing to this very high prevalence? And I'm actually surprised that the women are almost 50% higher regarding obesity than men. I always thought it was the other way around. And what do we attribute that to?
Yes, so that is a very interesting statistic, and we can even see that trend evolving from small girls that we are seeing that are more obese than their counterpart boys. So that is yeah, it's quite unique to South Africa as well that the our women and girls are more obese and significantly more obese than men. So, some primary factors contributing to the obesity crisis in South Africa. So, obesity is obviously a very complex disease that has multiple different factors that plays into it. So, it is a complex disease to solve. So that's why it's so important for us to look at it from all angles. So yeah, just some factors that we can highlight is the high availability and the aggressive marketing of our processed foods that are very energy dense at the moment. If you think just of, if you're driving home from work, how many ads do you see? Or if you watch television with your children, how many ads do you see that is, contributing towards us consuming this processed high energy dense foods? Then another thing that's also a contributing factor is the urbanization. So and that's been evolving over the last past a couple of years. We are urbanizing, so moving from more rural areas in towards the cities for jobs and so forth. And then our diets also change. So we become less physically active because of various factors, but mainly because of time and our environment does not allow it. And we are more reliant on convenient, quick, and easy meals, and sometimes the cheapest meals because. Yeah, financial factors is also a big contributing factor. Then children and adults are constantly exposed to unhealthy food advertisement, especially we see that now in the online environment. And then, like I also briefly mentioned, the economical challenges mean that unhealthy foods are often more accessible and more affordable than the nutritional options. So those are just some yeah, very brief contributing factors of the obesity crisis in South Africa.
So what I'm hearing you say, Dr. Bianca, really is it has to do with lifestyle. Um, I know that you have two types of diabetes. It's diabetes 1 and 2. I think the
Yes.
one, I'm not quite sure which one. I think diabetes 1, you're born with it, and the other one is developed through your very negligent lifestyle choices. And later on in life you just realize how you've complicated your life, because it's not, you just don't stop at diabetes. You go to the doctor and you diagnose and then you put on medication,
Mm,
but the repercussions are like kind of 100-fold, because there are so many other complications that sets in with just one diagnosis, just one, the diagnosis of one disease,
yes.
diabetes. The ripple effect is horrendous.
Yes, yes.
What do we do about it?
Mm. So yeah, the difficult thing about treating obesity is that it's not a disease that we can see now. You know, if you eat unhealthy for the next month, you're not going to see next month, listen, now there's a problem, and that is the big problem. So if you don't take care of your body when you are younger, the repercussions later in life, like you rightfully said, is where we find ourselves in. And then it's sort of difficult to then do damage control. So we actually want to prevent. And that's why it's so important for us to start with our children and to educate them about the dangers of what it can look like. So it's a very difficult thing to treat in terms of showing people the worst that can happen because they can't see it now,
I
and that's
apologize.
often what we see.
I apologize. I know we're talking obesity, and I've just automatically made the connection to diabetes.
Yes, there's
Um,
definitely a connection. Yeah.
yeah, I've made that connection, but there are other factors as well. I mean, apart from diabetes,
Mm.
would I be correct in thinking that perhaps 90% or more people who present with obesity will eventually present with diabetes?
Yeah, so that's the main thing about our obesity crisis. So not only does it put strain on your ability to, do things and be active with your children, for instance, it also has a strain on your health. And what we see and what literature has shown us, decades of literature, is that people who are obese are more likely to develop diabetes type 2, like you rightfully said in the beginning. So that's when your insulin actually does not work anymore because of all the fat cells. So, and that presents with the typical diabetic. So some of them have to also go on insulin, like a type 1 diabetes. Another non-communicable disease that's also very prevalent among obesity sufferers are hypertension or high blood pressure, as most of the people will know it, and also cardiovascular diseases. So we are seeing more and more younger people that are presenting with, typical cardiovascular diseases that you would see in older generations, but we are seeing that it's becoming more and more prevalent very young. And the last one that's probably maybe people won't necessarily connect it with obesity is cancer. So there's a huge amount of research that are showing now that there's a direct link between obesity and all sorts of different cancers that we see. So that's another scary thing that's as a consequence of obesity.
So I know that you, together with the institute that you're involved with, the Center of Excellence for Nutrition, have undergone numerous studies. I'm kind of wondering, regarding obesity, do we have situations where people are born obese, or with a tendency to become obese? And what is it that triggers in that little infant this gene, this obesity gene, for want of a better word, that as they start progressing through life, they start putting on more and more and more weight? So,
Mm.
really, what I'm asking is there perhaps a genetic predisposition to people then being born perhaps pretty normal, and then as they get on in life they start developing obesity? They become, they just keep on putting weight, which they can't get rid of.
Yes. Yeah, that's a very interesting question. So, we see in literature and in the research that the genetic component of obesity is not that much to blame, if I can put it like that. So the main thing is the environment that a child is born in or raised in. So usually what we see is we see that sort of a cycle that if if you have bad dietary habits and you're not active and, or living in poverty, it's a reality of of most people in South Africa. That cycle of, a child then being born into a household where it's normal to eat out 3 times a day or 3 times a week, or not to have veggies, or not to prepare your own food, or not to go for a walk, or simple things like that. If that is their normal and their environment, then that sets them up for failure, basically. So it has more to do with the environment that people are raised in and that they are exposed to. And sometimes the environment is something that they cannot do anything about, and that actually causes the obesity crisis rather than their genes.
So, obesity, when you talk about obesity awareness, and I guess any other condition, any other disease, we're really talking about um, we're talking about parents and children being exposed to nutrition education. Because if you don't understand the importance of good nutrition, you're going to be faced with many, not necessarily obesity, but many other health issues. Would I be
Yes.
correct in saying that?
Yeah, definitely. So we have the South African food-based dietary guidelines, and I'm sure that not a lot of your listeners even know this, but it's 11 guidelines that's been developed through research, and that's specifically developed for South Africa to be inclusive, to sort of cover all the cultural diversity. So yeah, your listeners are welcome to Google it. It will might take too long now to tell you everything, all the guidelines, but those guidelines are so crucial for us to teach them in school from a young age, because it covers sort of that's how a balanced diet should look like. So nutrition should actually be integrated in the life orientation and the natural science curricula, and they must actually use practical and engaging methods like school gardens or food prep demos and fun activities that makes choosing healthy fun for children. So yes, it should definitely start from a young age. And even yeah, some smaller studies that we saw where children got nutritional education, it actually spilled over into their households, because they went home and they told their mother or their granny, listen, I learned about this and this, and to rather choose this than this. So that can actually have an impact on the household as well, if we start from a nutritional education from a young age.
Okay, Dr. Bianca van der Westhuizen is our guest. She is the Honorary Secretary Treasurer of the Nutrition Society South Africa. We're talking obesity, but of course, this overspills into other diseases as well. We're going to go for an ad break, and when we come back, we will continue this discussion. So we hope you're going to continue watching and listening to the Mid Morning Show this Tuesday morning.
On the banks of the Crocodile River bordering the Kruger National Park. As a guest at Buckler's Africa Lodge, one can enjoy an amazing sunrise or sunset on our spacious deck area while you catch a glimpse of some wildlife sightings along the Crocodile River. The sounds of the African savannah will greet you whilst you enjoy your morning coffee. Buckler's Africa Lodge by Tingana Collection. Buckler's Africa Lodge is ideally situated only 6 kilometers from the Crocodile Bridge Gate in the Kruger National Park. Catering for all travelers with variety, we have 4 types of the finest rooms: superior rooms, deluxe suites, and 2-bedroomed family units. Each room is equipped with the finest amenities to make your stay unforgettable. Guests can choose between the self-catering option or book their accommodation with breakfast and dinner included. Buckler's Africa Lodge is your ideal location for the ultimate Kruger getaway experience. We specialize in exhilarating and educational game drives in Kruger, tailor-made to suit your family. Inquire about our various accommodation offerings and other activities. Visit www.tingana.co.za for more information. Buckler's Africa Lodge by Tingana Collection. Experience the pulse of Africa with us.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic Sharia and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042 203 1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Kids these days are smart, and when you're competing for their attention against their smartphones, you need to make smart choices, like using Sunfoil triple refined pure sunflower oil in every meal you make. It's naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether you're cooking, frying, or baking, you get the great tasting results that'll get their attention faster than the latest app. And if that doesn't work, change the Wi-Fi password. Sunfoil. Now we're cooking.
It's a new beginning. It's a new era. Salam Media, humanitarian journalism.
Welcome back. Dr. Bianca van der Westhuizen is our guest. We're talking obesity and other diseases. Bianca, welcome back. And earlier on, we spoke about education, effectively integrating into schools to promote healthy eating habits among children and adolescents. You spoke about school gardens, which I think is a brilliant idea. I have a big problem, two big problems. One is schools are very dependent on tuck shops and the revenue they get from tuck shops. So they sell a lot of rubbish to our kids during school breaks. And I'm kind of wondering if some form of legislation needs to be put in place to rid school tuck shops of all fizzy drinks and sweets and crisp and all unhealthy foods, and maybe just promote selling of healthy fruits and vegetables. That's the one issue. And then the other issue as well is when you go and do your shopping, the supermarkets, as you get to the checkout tills, I mean, those aisles are laden with all the rubbish you can ever think of, every kind of chocolate and sweet and fizzy drinks and everything that is unhealthy for you is absolutely stocked up there. And then you make that last minute impulsive purchase, which is just, unbelievable. So, and then last but not least, the sugar tax that was implemented a couple of years ago. I actually think it's done absolutely nothing to prevent us from, we haven't consumed less sugar and less unhealthy foods. All it has done is it's ended up costing us a little more to buy a slab of chocolate or a packet of sweets, and adding more money into government's coffers. So I'm not sure what is the answer to this problem that we're sitting with. Any ideas?
Yeah, so I have a lot of ideas, but I think we won't have the whole day to discuss it. And when you talk about that aisle, I'm sure I'm a mother of two small children, and I dread standing in a queue in that, in a line. I just want to go to checkout, because if you stand with a 5-year-old in that queue and she just sees all these sweet and lovely snacks, it is so difficult to they call it the pestering powers of children, and it's actually a real scientific name that these aisles are causing. But yeah, and anyway, let's start with your first concern that you had about the tuck shops at schools. So that is a very big problem. And not only the tuck shops, the informal vendors just outside of schools is also a big, big problem that we are, seeing in all the studies that we are doing on school environments, especially, and seeing, what is children exposed to just on their way to school, inside their school environment. Because it's one thing to educate, and I think most people, would know that it's healthier to eat an apple than a chocolate slab. But the environment sometimes makes it so difficult to make these healthier choices easier. And I think that's what we need to move towards. And the only way of sort of, leveling the playing field is to have these to have policies in place when it comes to school environments and what can be sold at schools and what can be advertised. So we are a long way from that in South Africa. But what is happening currently is there's now a draft bill that's been coming for years and years now that focuses on labeling and making labeling more understandable for the consumer. Because I'm sure if you look sometimes at the back of a product, you are as confused as many of us as, is this a healthy product? It has a health claim on, but it doesn't look like a healthy product. So it's very confusing when someone picks up a product and have to decide, is this now good for my health or not? So what the new bill suggests is we are moving, or we want to move towards a warning system that's on the front of a product. So immediately when you pick up a product, it will have a warning to say this is high in salt, high in fat, high in sugar, or it has artificial sweetener in. So those four categories will be classified on the product. And then there's, in that bill, there's also a restriction of what can be marketed to children or not. So if a product has one of these warning labels, it cannot have a character on or something that says, high in vitamins or, claims like that. So we hope that the bill will, go through all the processes that it needs to, because I think it will really make a difference in the consumer's life in order to choose what is healthy and what not. So yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think I've answered all your concerns. So maybe you can just remind me
The
again which one I
the
missed.
sugar tax. You've answered two. What about the sugar tax?
Yes, so the sugar tax, I completely get the feeling that you have around, what has it actually done? So we must remember that the sugar tax only targeted sugar sweetened beverages, nothing else with sugar in. So
Okay.
the research that's coming out now is actually showing that people are consuming less sugar coming from only sugar sweetened beverages. So the sugar tax did work in that way in terms of um, minimizing what people sugar that they are taking in from sugar sweetened beverages. We are not there yet to tax sugar that's in products, because it's a very complex field of, yeah, to tax any food in terms of, because sometimes that's the only source of food people can get in. And now if the government tax that in terms of the sugar, it's a very complex issue that we can maybe discuss on another day. It's very interesting. But the research is showing that the sugar tax worked for the sugar sweetened beverages only. But there's still a lot of work that has to be done in terms of education, in educating the public um, on what now, what further, because like you say, we are still exposed to all sweets and snacks and all the unhealthy sort of food, and that's the food that's also more appealing. So if you have a child that doesn't know yet what's healthy and what not, they will of course choose the products that are more appealing to them and marketed specifically to them. So I think The new regulation that will come into effect in terms of regulating the marketing to children will have we hope to see a big effect. If I'm not mistaken, Mexico also implemented a similar regulation, and they are seeing very positive results in terms of, national data showing that sugar consumption is sort of declining. So we hope to see that the bill that eventually will come into effect, we hope, will have the same effect on our children especially. I think, sorry, Julia, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
I was saying from my personal standpoint, I have a sister-in-law who's a psychiatrist, and we often talk about addictions. And what she
Mhm.
tells me is that we are making sugar addicts out of our little children. We are, because we give them all this rubbish to eat and we indulge them all the time. She says they're addicted to the sugar, and they're going to grow up wanting sugary snacks and sweets and cakes and whatever have you, as part of their regular diet. When I think of, when I was growing up, we were allowed a sugar, either piece of cake or chocolate or ice cream once a week only.
Yes.
Um, and maybe spending money, which we bought a little sweetie or a chocolate with, but that was once a week. And what's
Mm.
happening today? Even our
Mm.
little kids, the little toddlers, are eating sweets and chocolates throughout the day. But that being said, Bianca, we have to wrap up. What are your final thoughts on the discussion of today? Obesity and I guess I'm going to add to it, way too much sugar in our diets.
Yes. So, yeah, I hope I will be welcome back to continue this discussion.
Absolutely.
There's so much to still talk about, I think, and it's such a relevant issue at the moment. I think, if we look at the stats of South Africa, at least one person in a household are experiencing obesity, or your granny or your aunt. So it's really a thing that's not, it's not your neighbor down the road anymore. It's really targeting families. And I think we should really take note of your environment that you have in your household and maybe in your work environment, just to be cognizant of, how does it look like? What example are you setting for your children, in your own ways of choosing meals or cooking meals? Or are you, how are they helping you in the kitchen to see this is how you prepare a meal, this is how you cut the vegetables or wash the vegetables, things like that. So the first thing is to really look at the environment that you have in your household. The second thing is to really try and reduce the sugar. We are taking in, the WHO actually tells us that we are only allowed 10% of our total kilojoule value of sugar per day. So that's approximately, if we think of a 10,000 kilojoule diet, it's about 10 spoons of sugar. And if you just drink 5 cups of coffee, that's your ratio for the day. And that's not even the treat or the cookies that you eat with your tea. So just to
Right.
put it in perspective, yeah, we are consuming too much sugar, and we should take note of that. And then maybe just a very useful website that maybe the listeners can go to is the nutrition website. It's governed by the Department of Health, the Nutrition Society. It's a bunch. The Heart and Stroke Foundation is on there. So it's a bunch of NGOs that actually make sure that scientific evidence is available there. So it's I just want to give you the correct one: nutritionweek.coza, nutritionweek.co.za. And though that every year, when we have Nutrition Week in South Africa, we post all the information on there, and it's very user friendly for consumers and for the listeners to maybe read a little bit more up on portion control and how to educate your children just in your household, or your practical things like that. So that's, I think, would be very useful for them.
Dr. Bianca van der Westhuizen, Honorary Secretary and Treasurer of the Nutrition Society of South Africa. Thank you indeed for your very interesting and deep insights on the issue around obesity. And yes, definitely we will get you back on air sometime soon. Go well and God bless. Goodbye.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. 2 minutes after 12 o'clock, this is the mid-morning show with me, Julie Ali. You know what, guys? It's going to take a little while before I get used to this because I do the current affairs show on a Monday morning. On a Tuesday when I come in, I get a bit tongue-tied, so please bear with me. I'll get there eventually. Just a very quick reminder that's still to come on the show. We have a very interesting guest. We're going to be talking to Moses Yeha, Joburg District Youth Crime Prevention Desk PRO, and then Mualima Fadwa Solomon, founder of the Kamer Institute.